Think back to a number you once believed would change your life. A salary you were sure that, if you ever reached it, you would finally feel safe. Finally feel like you had made it. Maybe you have reached it by now. And here is the strange part. You feel almost exactly the same as you did before. The raise came. The relief did not. There is a reason for that, and once you understand it, you will see why almost everyone earning more money still feels like they are barely keeping up. Here is the truth nobody wants to hear about raises. The amount you earn rises, but the amount you consider normal rises right alongside it, automatically, silently, often within weeks. So the gap between what you have and what you feel you need never actually closes. You get a raise, and for a moment it feels like breathing room. Then that breathing room quietly becomes the new floor, and you are standing on it wondering why you still feel stretched. You did not fail to earn enough. Your definition of enough moved the moment you got close. And it moved without your permission, without a decision, without you ever noticing the goalposts slide. That is the part that makes this so hard to escape. You cannot fight an enemy you cannot see, and the rising of your own baseline is almost completely invisible from the inside. It just feels like the world got more expensive, or like you are unlucky, or like you simply need a little more. Let me show you the machine underneath this. Imagine running on a treadmill, and painted on the belt ahead of you is a line that says enough. You start running toward it. That running is you earning more, working harder, climbing. But the treadmill is built so that the faster you run, the faster the belt pulls that line away from you. So you sprint, and the line stays exactly the same distance ahead. You are pouring everything into the run. You are exhausted. You are moving. And the line called enough has not gotten 1 inch closer. That treadmill is your financial life, and almost everyone is on it without knowing they can step off. Psychologists have a name for this. They call it the Hedonic Treadmill, or Hedonic Adaptation. It was first described by two researchers, Brickman and Campbell, back in 1971. The idea is simple and brutal. As your circumstances improve, your expectations rise to match them, so your sense of satisfaction returns to roughly where it started. You adapt, the thing that thrilled you becomes the thing you expect, and then you need something more to feel the same spark again. And there is a famous study that shows just how powerful this is. In 1978, researchers interviewed two very different groups of people. One group had recently won the lottery. The other group had recently become paralyzed in accidents. You would expect these two groups to be living in completely different emotional worlds, but about a year later, something stunning had happened. Both groups had drifted back toward their original level of happiness. The lottery winners were barely happier than their neighbors who had won nothing. The windfall that was supposed to change everything had been quietly absorbed, like it was always meant to be there. A sum of money most people spend their whole lives dreaming about, and a year later it had been flattened back into ordinary by the same mental machinery that flattens your raise. Sit with what that means for your raise. If winning the lottery returns to baseline within a year, what chance does a 10% raise have? The money comes in, the thrill spikes, and then your mind does what it always does. It recalibrates. The new income becomes the new normal. The nicer car becomes just the car. The bigger apartment becomes just the apartment, until one day it even starts to feel a little small. Nothing went wrong. This is your brain working exactly as designed. Here is the mechanism that makes it so sneaky. Researchers describe something called your aspiration level, and it is the real villain of this whole story. Your aspiration level is the quiet inner setting for what counts as normal, expected, owed to you. And every time your life improves, that setting ratchets up, owed to you. The key word is ratchet. It moves up easily, but it almost never moves back down. Last year's luxury becomes this year's necessity. The treat becomes the routine. And once something has become your baseline, going without it does not feel like returning to how you used to live. It feels like losing something. That is why you can earn double what you made 5 years ago and feel no richer. Your baseline doubled too, and it has no reverse gear. There is a second engine making the belt move even faster, and it is the people around you. Your aspiration level is not set in isolation. It is set by comparison. The moment you move into the nicer neighborhood, your new normal is no longer your old life. It is your new neighbors. The car that felt like an achievement in your old street looks ordinary in the new driveway. So you do not just adapt to your own gains. You adapt to the gains of everyone you have just placed yourself among. You climbed precisely so you could stand next to people who make your climb feel like standing still. This is why a raise that moves you into a higher earning circle can leave you feeling poorer than before. You out-earned your old self and walked straight into a room full of people to feel behind. And the more you spend to signal that you belong in that room, the faster the belt spins. Each upgrade is visible to the people whose baseline you have adopted, and theirs is visible to you, and everyone is quietly running to keep pace with everyone else. All of them convinced the line called enough is just one more upgrade away. It is a treadmill where everyone can see everyone else running, and nobody can see that the belts are all rigged the same way. Now stop for a second, because this is where most people make their biggest mistake without ever realizing it. When the raise arrives, the natural thing, the thing that feels completely earned, is to upgrade. You worked hard. You deserve the nicer thing. So the bigger paycheck immediately becomes a bigger lifestyle, and within a few months, that bigger lifestyle is simply the new normal you now have to maintain. You did not buy freedom with that raise. You bought a higher set of monthly obligations and a baseline that is now harder to ever step back from. And this is the cruelest twist of the treadmill. The upgrades do not just fail to make you richer, they actively trap you. Because once your lifestyle has expanded to match your income, you now need that income just to stay where you are. The fancier life is not a cushion, it is a cage with nicer furniture. You have more, you owe more to keep it, and you are more afraid of losing the job that funds it than you were when you earned less. More money bought you less freedom. That is the treadmill winning. Let me make this concrete, because you have lived it, even if you have never named it. Think about the last thing you really wanted and finally bought. The phone, the watch, the car, the furniture. Remember the days before you got it, how much mental space it took up, how sure you were it would matter. Now remember how long the thrill actually lasted. For most things, it is somewhere around 2 weeks. 2 weeks of genuine pleasure, and then it quietly folded into the background of your life and became just another object you own. The anticipation lasted longer than the satisfaction. That is hedonic adaptation in miniature, happening to you over and over on a loop with every purchase you have ever made. And the receipt for that 2 weeks of pleasure does not just disappear. If it went on a payment, you are still paying for it long after the feeling faded. You are funding the memory of an excitement you can barely recall, while the thing itself sits there, fully absorbed into your baseline, sparking nothing. Multiply that across a lifetime of purchases and you start to see the real cost of the treadmill. It is not just that the things stop mattering. It is that you keep paying for them long after they have. Here is the reframe that changes everything, and it is the whole point of this video. The problem is not that your baseline rises. You cannot fully stop that. It is human nature. The opportunity is in the gap. The space between your old spending and your new income, the part you do not let your lifestyle absorb. That gap is the only place financial freedom has ever been built. Every dollar that slips into your rising baseline is gone, converted into a new normal you will adapt to and stop noticing within weeks. But every dollar you protect from that baseline stays yours. It becomes the cushion, the buffer, the investment, the freedom. Restraint is not deprivation here. Restraint is the only thing that ever actually pays you back. Think about what that means practically. When the next raise comes, the treadmill wants the whole thing. It wants you to expand, to fill it instantly. But if you can let even part of that raise pass straight over your baseline without touching it, you have done something almost no one does. You have stepped off the belt. You have taken money that would have evaporated into a slightly nicer car you would stop noticing in a month, and turned it into something that compounds into actual freedom. The raise the treadmill wanted you to spend becomes the raise that finally buys you away off it. And here is the part that should genuinely lighten the load. Because hedonic adaptation runs in both directions, You adapt to having less almost as easily as you adapt to having more. The downgrade you are terrified of, the smaller place, the older car, the simpler life, would stop feeling like a sacrifice within weeks, the same way the upgrade stopped feeling special within weeks. The fear of living below your means is far worse than the reality. Your mind will adjust to a leaner life just as fast as it adjusted to a richer one. And the freedom you buy with the difference does not fade the way the possessions do, because that is the final secret the treadmill hides from you. Not everything adapts at the same speed. The new gadget, the upgrade, the luxury, those fade fast, pulled back to baseline within weeks. But security, the deep, quiet knowledge that you are not one bad month from disaster, that does not fade the same way. Freedom does not become the new normal and disappear. It keeps paying you every single day in a currency the treadmill cannot devalue. You were taught to spend raises on things that fade. The move is to spend them on the one thing that does not. So look at the whole picture now. On one side, the endless run, chasing a line called enough that moves away every time you earn more, sprinting your whole life and never arriving. On the other side, the quiet decision to stop letting the line move, to hold your baseline still while your income rises and let the gap between them become the freedom you were chasing the entire time. Earning more will never make you feel richer, not on its own, because your baseline rises to swallow it. What makes you richer is the distance you are willing to keep between what you earn and what you spend. That distance is the only thing the treadmill cannot take from you. The finish line called enough was never going to arrive on its own. You reach it the moment you decide to stop letting it move. And if you feel like you are already running flat out and getting nowhere, understand that this was never a flaw in you. The treadmill is built into being human. Your mind was designed to adapt, to always want the next thing, to turn every gain into a new normal. That instinct kept your ancestors striving and alive. But you can see it now, and seeing it is what lets you step off. The pattern was learned, which means it can be rewired. Start keeping a gap between your raises and your life, even a small one, because the freedom you are sprinting toward was never at the end of the belt. It was in the choice to stop running. Next time, I want to show you why the people who feel the most financially free are almost never the ones who earn the most.